Welcome to DFS Karma, where we talk about our favorite fantasy sports plays for football, basketball, baseball, and pretty much everything else. Be sure to check out and create an account with all of our partners, such as MonkeyKnifeFight.online, PrizePicks.online, and StatHero.online. Use the promo code KARMA on any of these sites to get an exclusive deposit bonus. And don't forget to check out all of our free fantasy content on DFSKarma.com, as well as our own premium plays. Without further ado, let's get the show on the road. Please welcome today's hosts.
What is up, and welcome back, everybody, to another edition of The Cash Process. We are headed into week 4 already, heading into the quarter pole of the season. I'm your host, AC, with DFS Karma. You can see the swag right here. And my co-captain, Ben Hostler, with DFS Karma and Bet Karma, of course. Everything from betting, props, karma simulations, and content all can be found at betkarma.com. And, of course, all of our content, projections, simulations, cheat sheets can be found at dfskarma.com. All right, let's dive into it. Now we're in week 4. We're starting to get a little data, more injuries. We got COVID updates. I mean, a lot to kind of go through. But as always, let's start off about what happened the week before. We'll talk about, obviously, this is DraftKings specific, but we'll touch on FanDuel as well. Ben, how was your week? What did you do right? What did you do wrong? And then you can give your quick thesis on week 4.
Yeah, so I had a decent week. One of my main tournament lineups was the Bills stack, which I talked about on Game 3 podcast, final thoughts, all that stuff, live stream on Sunday morning. Talked about how I thought that game went over the total, so I really liked both sides of that game, so that was good. Lost on DraftKings. Had a really chalky lineup. Ran bad. Deontay Johnson got hurt, which was unfortunate. Obviously went DK over Lockett, which was unfortunate. And then biggest miss, which we kind of talked about the other day, but I think not considering Austin Eckler for cash games. I had him in the tournament tier on my final thought sheet, but just not considering him more heavily in cash was probably a mistake. FanDuel was great. Got to 3-0, so that's good. Hopefully I can sweep the month. If I start out 4-0, that would be awesome on FanDuel. And I know a lot of our subscribers in Discord and just subscribers in general play heavily on FanDuel, so that's great that we're 3-0 there. This week, which we kind of talked about, I think this week has a little bit less value on DraftKings, at least as of now. So it looks like we could get 2 less games, because I don't know if the Viking game is going to play, and then they might move this Titans game, or they might move the Steelers game to Monday night. So we'll have to see what's going on with these games. So it might be 2 less games, but I think there's a lot less value as of now. The issue with that is we've had a lot of value open up later on in the week, the last couple weeks, so hopefully that doesn't happen again. Because as of now, it looks like it might be at least a little bit more difficult to build a lineup on DraftKings, which is going to narrow down the chalk. Like, it's not going to be quite as chalky as it was the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's something I'm looking forward to. I feel like this season has been eerily chalky to start on DraftKings, which has helped me a ton in tournaments. I mean, last week for me, lost in DraftKings cash games. I'm actually 0-3, ironically. Of course, I'm having my best NFL season yet because I've hit big in tournaments this week. I did not have a $100,000 winner. However, I did fare fairly well in my 3 GPP exposures. So I had a good tournament week, a bad cash week, and I just crushed on FanDuel, and that was without Lockett, actually. I ended up going to you. I'm going to pull it up right now, Ben. I'm looking at your final thoughts. Again, you can find this on the website. And I said, we were talking in Discord with Matt and some of the other guys, for me, myself in specific, it could be dumb luck. But with a lot of the sports I'm having a lot of success in the last year and a half, but especially obviously the last 90 days, 3 or 4 months. I mean, really, I've shrunk my research generally to as much karma as I can, because I don't like to get wrapped around the industry bubble of who's what, where, when, why, and how. I'd almost prefer a little variance. I went to 2-1 on FanDuel. I actually play more volume on FanDuel for cash games because they offer a lot of the 50-50 100-mans. Like DraftKings has them, but they don't have as many for whatever reason. And FanDuel just makes it easier to find them as well. So I actually play more volume there. But this is from Ben's final thoughts last week, and it was the icing on the cake. I really wanted to play Henry. I just knew he was going to be lower owned for a variety of reasons. We actually talked about it at Bet Karma, but you have in here Zeke is the safest running back for fantasy right now with CMC hurt, and Henry is my week 3 version of Aaron Jones, meaning I will be overweight on him in tournaments. So when I was reading that just solidified where my game theory was going with Henry. He was low owned on FanDuel in tournaments and especially in cash games, and 2 touchdowns, that's all you need, especially in FanDuel. I mean, where PPR scoring doesn't matter. So I had a really good week there, but hopefully trying to get back in the winning circle. It's been pretty brutal not to get a win on the board, Ben, and we're doing this cash process weekly, so I'm hoping that changes. But let's dive into it. Week 4. I'm trying to think if there's anything else we need to get off the shelf here other than you address the COVID thing. I mean, we knew this was going to happen at some point, so we'll keep an eye on that. Of course, you can talk to myself, Ben, and all the other experts in the Discord chat that's under the Big Orange subscription package at dfskarma.com. All right, let's get into it, Ben. Awesome game last night. Obviously, Monday Night Football. We're not obviously talking about Thursday night. That's just going to be, the Broncos and the Jets. But let's get into the main slate as always and start with quarterbacks. I mean, where are you looking early? I love that you already addressed the macro level that it might not be as chalk all across the board. But let's start diving into this slate.
Yeah, there is a bet I like for that Thursday night game. So I talked about it in the BetComer Discord a little bit. I tweeted something about it, so you can go check that out. But the first couple weeks, man, on DraftKings, it's kind of been a pick 'em. Play whoever you want at quarterback. You can make it work. I don't think it's going to be that way as of now this week. So Lamar, Russ, Mahomes, even my boy Josh Allen's up to 7,300. I mean, these guys are all great plays. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get to any of them in cash games. If there was one guy to spend up on, it's probably Kyler Murray against Carolina. I know he kind of didn't have as good of a game as people projected last week, but this Carolina defense is really easy to target. He has so much value with his legs at this moment in time. So I think, 7K is doable for him. I kind of was looking down to this lower 6K range. You got Cam Newton at 64, and then you have Joe Burrow at 63. I think Joe Burrow is a really good play at home against Jacksonville, who Joe Burrow has a little bit of upside with his legs. He actually, we kind of talked about this in our season-long stuff, Bales and I, but Joe Burrow had as much rushing equity as Josh Allen did their last 2 years in college. And Fitzmagic ran all over the Jags last Thursday night, and Burrow gets him at home, and we know that they're going to let him throw the ball. He's thrown the ball a ton. He's been in all these games. Like, this is a winnable game for the Bengals. I think 6,300 for Joe Burrow is really intriguing right now.
That is interesting. I really didn't have that. Again, the way that I like to approach this show, in case some of you guys are new listeners, by the way, shout out, thanks to y'all. If you can, give us a like, a thumbs up, a quick comment review on whatever platform you're listening on. It definitely helps the show, of course. But I saw Ben post something early this morning about Burrow in Discord chat, and it's not like it threw me off. I just never would have considered it coming on here. But then you start thinking about things, and you start looking about the price at 6,300. He does have the rushing upside. Like you said, they're letting him throw the ball all over the yard. And then you factor in things we're talking about at Bet Karma already on a Tuesday. I mean, the spread is up from 44.5 to 48.5. I mean, sometimes you don't need to overthink it. Like, Vegas is telling you there's a lot of points going to be scored in this game on both sides of the ball. And there was, I think, Sharp Football Analysis a couple years ago. I remember them doing a study on that, like, 47.5 mark or something. And when the total gets bet up above that at some point early in the week, the hit rate for the over in that game is, like, astronomical. Again, you guys would have to look that up. I just remember it being around that 47 line. And it's past that already early in the week. I like that a lot. I had no intentions of playing Joe Burrow, but I'm kind of like looking at him right now. I'm sure all these other guys are going to pop. I mean, I do want to play Dak because this Browns secondary is just trash. They're hurt. They're banged up. And, it's going to be a shootout in Dallas. Of course, I couldn't go 10 minutes into the pod without talking about the 2-1 Cleveland Browns for the first time since 2014, going into Dallas and Baker's home state. We're going to need this franchise-changing win to get to 3-1, which could happen. I mean, I was actually surprised. Only 4.5-point favorites from, the Cowboys is kind of telling you that the Vegas still likes the Browns a little bit. I thought it could be a 5.5 spread open, but we'll see. So I do like Dak for that purpose because he has a little rushing upside. Again, it depends on the slate if we got the money. Dak is $1,000 more to Joe Burrow. You're drawing my attention now to saving money. Like if I can save money, maybe I do go with Burrow, because I don't think there probably will be a difference, especially, on FanDuel, as far as that pricing goes there. So I like that a lot. Of course, Mahomes, Murray, all these guys are in play pretty much every week, but I just like your perspective of Burrow in case you need to save money. All right, let's go to running back. Who are you looking at running back to start the week?
Real quick, what are your thoughts on Fitzmagic? He's 5,400. I feel like I haven't spent down at quarterback in so long, but 5,400 at home. Seattle's given up a ton of fantasy points to quarterbacks. He does have some rushing upside, like a little bit of rushing equity.
It's interesting because they're just as bad. I mean, I guess we'd have to see the update on Jamal. If Jamal Williams is actually out, I don't even know. Did he come back in that game?
I don't know if he came back, but I don't even think it matters. Like their corners, like they're so banged up. Like they lost Blair, they've lost Bruce Irvin. They haven't been able to rush the passer. Obviously, they have, no Clowney anymore, but they haven't been able to rush the passer as much as they were able to in years past. And they've given up, I don't remember, I'd have to find the stat, but they've given up like a historic amount of yards to quarterbacks in the first 3 games. It's pretty crazy.
I guess I wasn't thinking about that. The answer right now is no. But that 54-point total. I mean,
yeah.
Let's be honest, something here. I mean, that is a high total. You know what scares me when I was looking at that game from a betting perspective? I'm not touching that game on either side, and I'll tell you why. I don't trust the teams that travel from point A in the left corner of the map, the top left corner of the USA, and go to the bottom right-hand corner. It's like the farthest travel. I mean, Seattle to Miami, something about that game in general. Like, I don't like both sides. I mean, but yeah, that's cheap, man. 5,300, depending on if we really want to make that awesome stat, or 5,400. I mean, you're bringing up another good point. I just feel like personally, if I'd want to go with Burrow just for a little bit more of the upside there. But yes, that's an interesting play. We might have to reevaluate that later in the week. All right, let's go to running back.
Yeah, so I don't know. This is a weird week. Like I said, less value, but one value spot is Zeke Elliott at 7,800. I don't know why he's 7,800. I know the Browns have actually been pretty good in terms of run defense, but the amount of touches that this guy gets is way more than someone that should be 7,800. Like, it's just too cheap. So I'm going to play Zeke 100%. I would like to play Kamara if possible too, but so Scott Barrett had this on Twitter. Kamara's got the second most fantasy points for a running back ever through 3 games, right behind Marshall Faulk. I don't remember what season Marshall Faulk did it, but pretty crazy. But his like receiving upside takes a little bit of a hit with Michael Thomas expected back, and he doesn't get, like, he's not a Zeke where he's going to get 20 carries even if the Saints are winning. Like, they just don't use him like that. They mix in, they're bringing Taysom Hill, they have Latavius Murray. Like, he's on the field and he can deliver big plays, but obviously it's a good matchup against Detroit. So I'd like to play both of them if possible, but if I was going to pick one, probably Zeke. You have Dalvin Cook there at 7,600, but we'll have to see about that game. Dropping down, like, I don't know. I don't see anyone like in this lower range where we were targeting last week. I think Drake at 6K against the Panthers will be an auto play. I mean, they've allowed rushing touchdown, I think 14 straight games now. Like, they're just so bad against running backs. I know Drake burned everybody last week, but it's probably too easy of a play to make. And then Darrell Henderson at 5,800. I don't know if it's Darrell or Darrell. I've never been able to figure this out since he was at Memphis, but he took a commanding lead at that backfield last week, went over 100 yards in a relatively tough matchup. Giants are not as tough as the Bills are on defense, and I'm assuming Akers is probably going to be out again. So I do like Henderson at 5,800.
Yeah, I like a lot where you're at. I guess I'll start off with a few things. Zeke at home, just, God, Ben, it pains me to say.
I know, but it's 7,800, dude.
It's a flaw in my game. I got to admit. It actually popped I knew at some point I'd win 100 grand with the Indian stack, but it's a flaw in my game. I'm a homer for Cleveland sports. The Zeke does seem like 7,800 against the Browns.
Insane. I don't know why he's that cheap, dude. I don't.
It just seems like you got to lock him in, especially coming off a loss. Granted, it was a tough loss, but they didn't have him involved as much. They'll kind of revisit that game plan a little bit. And dude, the Browns are the Browns. I mean, come on, they're gonna give up 30 points. I mean, this game is gonna be a shootout. So especially if you don't play Dak, which I doubt people will in cash games. I mean, probably got to go this route. Kamara, I almost want to. It's not like I'm disagreeing with you because you already know Kamara is an amazing play. It just doesn't sound like on a Tuesday morning that you're investing your current, early roster build potentially into Kamara. My first thought was like, I'm playing him 100%. It's not off of the hype. It's just, I know Thomas is coming back, but 8,000 to me still seems favorable. And to me, I think what people are going to realize later in the week is the offensive line matchup versus that D line will probably be like one of the best matchups, if not the entire year. I guarantee you when we look back data-wise, it'll be probably one of the premier matchups in the trenches in the entire year. I just don't envision a scenario where Kamara fails, and I don't see myself not having him in my main lineup. Now, I think the interesting play this week is there seems to be some options for the flex play, which is awesome. I mean, I'm getting tired of like everybody kind of talking about the same picks or whatever. So I agree with you on your call with Drake. I mean, yes, that was kind of like one of the plays that came to my mind for the other third running back that I want to play. There's a lot of guys in this range. I know you mentioned Henderson. I'll mention Mixon. I mean, home game, we'll talk about the same reasons we were on Burrow, the same reasons I'm going to look into Mixon. And I feel like people are a little bit butthurt by him, a lot of the best ball people and the season-long people. So I don't know. I think he'll get depressed ownership. He's still the workhorse. He's still seeing a few targets a game. I mean, home game too. I love home game stuff for running backs. Like it's always been part of my process long-term. So I'm going to take a heavy look at Mixon. And then I'll tell you what, man, I am kicking myself. I almost played a crazy. Then again, Singletary did not play bad, by the way. For that price tag last week, he hit value and he should have crushed. I mean, I don't understand how he didn't accidentally score a touchdown.
He almost did. He got down to like the 1, I think. But yeah, he was in on, I think, 89% of the snaps. Like, it was not a bad play at all.
You got to hit on those flex plays, especially the running backs that might be a little bit lower owned. 10% these days, I guess, is like, 2% because of the bubble that we live in, especially talking in cash games. But I don't know how popular. Maybe he becomes chalk later in the week. But right now, the guy I'm kind of plugging in is Mike Davis. I mean, I almost played him, dude, in my main lineup, and he would have been like one. I don't even know what his ownership was last week, but I know it was lower than people thought. And his prop before the game was like 6 catches. I was like, what? Like, I knew this guy was going to be involved, but I mean, you don't see props like that. I saw that at Bet Karma looking through the props, and then ultimately I didn't play him. But I think he's probably worth the play. Again, home game narrative. Looks like up-tempo again. I mean, Ben, preseason, I kind of stick with similar thoughts that, you talk about it, DFS Karma in the Discord chats, even preseason. Like, you talked about the Panthers in a way being a little bit of a cheat code, and maybe that narrative isn't truly played out yet for the whole community. I mean, maybe not. But, I like the tempo in general. Now it's Arizona, and on top of your little Coors Field effect with the Panthers, he got, 8 catches last week? I mean, dude, that's 80 yards rushing, and he's still good for he's getting the same volume that a Kamara gets. So he just looks like a depressed Kamara price, really, if you want to, I guess, fade Kamara and go big elsewhere. So right now I'm kind of looking at Mike Davis, Zeke, and Kamara, but I'm mixing in kind of the other guys you were looking at as well as Mixon.
Yeah, that's a good call with Davis. I don't know, like they're checking down to him way more than they were McCaffrey, which I think is interesting. But that's a good price tag
too. I mean, he looks shifty, man. Like I feel like they knew he was the right backup.
Yeah, David Johnson, 5,600. Again, we don't know if that game's going to play, but he's top 5 in opportunity share for running backs. Like he's on the field a ton, so I think he's interesting. And then one more, if Chris Carson happens to miss this game, we don't know if he's going to be able to play or not. Carlos Hyde's like 5,300. I guess we'd be forced into looking at him against Miami if Carson was out.
I would never play Carlos Hyde in cash. I just don't even care if he's the guy. Like I'm not. That guy's lost me so much money in the past.
I know, but they have. I don't know. They have him. They have a rookie DJ Dallas that hasn't really been on the field, but
that would be a situation I would avoid. And hopefully, I hope people end up playing Hyde in cash if that becomes a thing. I'd take Mike Davis 10 times out of 10 over freaking Carlos Hyde.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
All right. Do you want to go to wide receiver?
Yeah, wide receiver is interesting because this is where we're probably going to, like, especially if you want to play Zeke or, like, attempt to play Zeke and Kamara, you're going to have to find some value here. Thomas again is too cheap though. Like, why is Michael Thomas 7,600? Do you have an answer to that question?
Yeah, that seems like the pricing that I avoided potentially week 1 with what's his name, Hopkins or Adams.
Adams, yeah.
I avoided it, and the interesting play you could do is just play Thomas and Kamara, and you essentially soak up everything theoretically until you get trolled by Taysom Hill, I guess. But the Lions are freaking bad, man. They're bad in their secondary, and I was surprised at how low owned, again, quote unquote, because we live in this bubble of saturation in cash games. I thought DeAndre Hopkins was going to be way more popular last week, and I was actually surprised that he was only like 20% owned. So maybe that was a bad play, I guess, but he still dropped 25 DraftKings points without even trying. So I do love Thomas. It's just, is he 100% healthy?
Yeah, we'll have to see on that.
That's my concern.
Later in the week. Yeah. No, it's a concern, especially because you want to factor in like Kamara. Like so Thomas is 76, Kamara's 8K. Kamara's going to get you 5-6 targets, like 100%, right? So you're getting a mini wide receiver with him. You're just getting some rushing attempts too. I don't know. Like, I don't love any of these guys in this like upper mid tier, at least for cash games. Like, I think Will Fuller, if that game's plays at 5,900, is interesting. I think DJ Moore at 5,600 is really interesting. So if you want to talk about opportunity share, only saw 4 targets last week, but the 2 weeks before that, double digits, has a couple end zone targets. He's just kind of been unlucky. I think Arizona's a really good matchup for him to get back on board, even if he sees Patrick Peterson. Peterson has not been super good this season. Terry McLaurin flamed him a couple games ago for over 100 yards, so I'm not really scared of anybody in the Cardinals secondary. So this could be a week to buy low on DJ Moore. And after that, man, you're just like dropping down. Like, do you see anyone in that 6K, like upper 5K range? Because there's no one that I would feel.
I mean, there's a lock for me. His name's Odell Beckham. I mean, come on. He's 5,800. I'm telling you, there's a bigger narrative here than we think. This is the Browns' first time to actually, they've slowly righted the ship by making the moves of getting rid of Freddie and all these guys. They are a running team. I get it. But Odell Beckham is 5,800. This dude's a slate breaker. My thesis is this. He's in a game total that, by the way, is the highest on the slate. This is just, again, this is how I like to think about building optimal builds, and even in 3-max stuff. You will lose in one of your 3-max entries. Again, this doesn't have to be just a cash process one lineup. If you don't have some Browns exposure, I mean, there's too many points coming from this game that you need some kind of sprinkle. And it doesn't have to be in cash games. I'm probably going to take the look at it as Odell Beckham's going to get you 12 points. I know that's not why we're playing this to almost like 2x. He's going to 2x for you. I mean, 3x is obviously ideal. Like 5,800, Odell Beckham used to be that perennial 7K range, $7,500, $8,000. I get it. He hasn't changed that much. Like, it's been like a year, and his price is $2,500 cheaper. And I get it for certain reasons. Again, running offense, blah, blah, blah. But he's got mega upside, dome game, highest total on the slate. This is going to be the premier game at 1 o'clock. I mean, to answer your question finally, you said you paused and you had hesitation because you don't know where to go. Well, this is my point. There's so many guys. Like, why not take the cheaper guy?
I like Odell in tournaments. I don't know if I would play him in cash. We'll have to see. I would highly doubt I end up on him in cash.
Name me a worse secondary in the league right now. I'll pause.
What, than Dallas? I mean, Seattle's is pretty bad. The Panthers is pretty bad.
Are they worse? Because I
know I'm not disagreeing with the matchup. It's more of just like, so I talked about this in Discord on Sunday night. So Dallas has been really bad in first quarters. So everyone this week is going to tell you, oh, yeah, the Browns should be throwing because they're going to be playing from behind. Like, yeah, theoretically they're not favored. They should be playing from behind. But Dallas went down 20-0 to Atlanta or whatever it was. They like to get down early in these games, and then they've been coming back. So if the Browns get up 10 points, like, they're just going to run the ball. Like, they're going to keep the ball out of Dak's hands, and they're just going to run the ball. At least in my opinion.
DJ Moore, I do like a lot. 5,600 seems ridiculous for him. I don't understand why his price never moves. But again, let's kind of keep going back to this game that I like a lot. I've already mentioned Mike Davis. Can I go with the double exposure? I'm not afraid of it, but I almost prefer the Davis, the Davis and Moore combo than I do the Kamara and Thomas combo for a lot cheaper. I feel like you soak up a lot of the targets and a lot of essentially the upside equity between those players. I mean, I could see myself playing, honestly, both DJ Moore, to your point, and Mike Davis in the same roster. His price is just too cheap. It literally never goes up.
No, this is the DJ Moore week. He's gonna finally break out. I thought he was gonna have a big game last week, but I mean the Chargers are a tough defense, man. I'm not gonna deny that. This is such a good spot for him. But you want to talk about slate breaking upside, dude? We're gonna talk about Hunter Renfrow at 4,600. I think if Ruggs happens to miss again, dude, the Bills have been just smoked in the slot all year. They gave up huge. I know the linebackers were out against the Dolphins, but they gave up a huge game to Gesicki, who plays a lot in the slot, and they gave up like 76 yards to Isaiah Ford in the slot. And then last week, Cooper Kupp had a monster game in the slot as well. So I think Hunter Renfrow, if Ruggs is out, 4,600 is in play for me. Honestly, I can't believe I'm saying that, but.
That's crazy. I mean, I never liked playing that guy, but that totally makes sense. The whole process behind that. I mean, I ended up getting exposure to Cooper Kupp in a GPP that helped in one of my 3 maxes. So yeah, I just right now I don't envision myself playing him, but I totally see it. Like it does make some sense there. How about Brandon Cooks? I mean, I'm just kind of looking, like this whole range is just, there are guys, and that's if the game plays, but we talked about secondaries. It's early. We're starting to get a little data and stuff, a little analysis. Like Minnesota secondary is like Dallas. It's awful.
Yeah, not a good spot. You also have T. Higgins right there as a stack with Burrow maybe. So I actually like T. Higgins was obviously good in college. I wasn't huge on him coming out. Like didn't test super well athletically. He was more of like a contested catch guy in college. But dude, John Ross was a healthy scratch on Sunday. T. Higgins came out and commanded 9 targets from Burrow and really like his first like quote unquote start. Couple red zone touchdowns. I mean, I think, for 4,500 or whatever he is, that's a pretty solid stack. If you end up playing Burrow, like you're going to get both of them for under 10K.
Man, the way this slate's looking, because there's a lot of cheap. We didn't really talk about many of the expensive receivers, the Allen Robinsons, the Metcalfs, the Lockett's, blah, blah, blah. But I feel like you could build a roster with a lot of the cheapy receivers, which is really the way you actually want to build that. That's honestly, like, I know I have the fandom with the Browns, and frankly, I made a comment last week. I'm like, the Browns are not good to play in DFS because there's too many guys. But I mean, Beckham, I'm just looking at his price, like 5,800. But you could build a good roster this week with cheap wide receivers with tons of upside, pretty good running backs. And then honestly, like if you don't get exposure to the Lockett or the Metcalfs of the world, like, geez, might as well just keep riding the heater with freaking Russ, like the way I'm looking at it right now. I haven't made a final roster, but it just looks like you could go down that route. What else? I mean, there is a lot of guys this week, I feel like.
Yeah, there's a lot of these cheaper guys that are at least interesting. N'Keal Harry's 4K. I mean, he and I liked the Patriots stack a lot last weekend. It kind of got screwed over just because they got up so easy on the Raiders, and they just pounded the ball with Rex Burkhead and Sony Michel. Like, they just ran the ball. They're not going to be able to run the ball like that against the Chiefs. Like, they're going to have to put up points. I mean, we've seen upside from Harry. He had 12 targets in week 2. So I think, like, if that's a game where they're going to be forced to throw at 4K, it's really cheap.
Interesting. My boy Demir Bird, I shouted him out in the pod last week. He only got 6 points, but he's still 2x, by the way. He's 3K. I feel like, why doesn't DraftKings move him up? Like, he's clearly playing. Not that I'm going to play him, but interesting to see him there. Anybody else that we kind of missed, I guess, even in the upper tier range, that just seems like right now we're not plugging those guys in, the more expensive one as of this second?
Nah, I mean, the Pittsburgh guys could come into play if that game plays, which we don't know. But if Deontay Johnson, he left because of like a concussion on Sunday. If he were to like somehow miss this game, you have James Washington, Chase Claypool, those guys would jump up in terms of value.
Oh, real quick, before we move to tight end, if you don't actually get exposure to Zeke, which I don't know, then play CD Lamb. I mean, I've played this guy every week. I haven't even checked FanDuel pricing, but I guarantee it's like 5,400 if I had to guess, or 56 because FanDuel's hilarious. So the Browns just simply don't cover the slot. Ben and I say that every week for the last 3 years. So CeeDee Lamb's going to have a good game.
Yeah, dude, CeeDee got trolled, man. He was set up so well in the slot against Seattle, and Dallas brings this Cedric they bring in this Cedric Wilson kid, and he goes like 5 for 107 and 2 touchdowns in the slot. I'm like, what is happening? Like, completely trolled CeeDee.
That's NFL DFS in a nutshell. That guy must have literally not been owned, honestly.
No, he wasn't. He's a rookie. Like, I don't even think he had got. I don't know for sure. I didn't check, but I don't know if he'd been in the games.
All the receivers. I mean, come on, they got like
I know
of the good ones. They're stacked. All right, let's go to tight end. Kind of start finishing up here. All right, I will let you lead off, and if you want to cry about Logan Thomas, then go ahead.
Dude, Logan, I'm not even mad about Logan Thomas, dude. Dude, he's all he does.
It's been just an abomination.
He has like, I think like the third highest opportunity share for tight ends. Like, he's on the field a ton. He gets targets. He runs routes. Like, he's running a route on like 85% of Dwayne Haskins dropbacks, which is crazy for tight ends. Like, I'm not even mad. I think you could play him again. Honestly, I have no problems. No one is on the field as much as him in that price range, but you're gonna have to save money at tight end if we're gonna build the roster we've been talking about. I think Ebron could get some traction if that game plays because he caught the touchdown last week. He's seen an increase in targets. Deontay could miss. I could see that becoming a thing. I do like Thomas, dude. I really do. I feel like I talk about him every week, but I do think he's in play. Evan Ingram at 4,400, I think is playable as well, especially if I don't know, like the Rams.
He's a long team, by the way.
Yeah, I mean he's that's another guy that's on the field a lot and is going to get targets though. Like, he just needs to score a touchdown. Like, whoever scores a touchdown at tight end is going to end up scoring pretty well for the week.
So I don't understand. I haven't been playing him. I shouldn't say never because I usually have in the past. But Hunter Henry's only 4,600. I mean, they're going to have to pass against Brady. The price just seems cheap. But again, it just all depends on your roster construction. I agree. You probably could save money and go down to Logan Thomas. Well, again, he'll probably troll for 2 touchdowns this week because that's DFS in a nutshell. Another cheapy guy. This guy, man, I always eye him up, but for some reason I always get scared to play him, is Jordan Akins. He is on the field a lot. I mean, he's 3,300. You know, that game, if it does play, is one of the higher totals on the slate, and there's a lot of money coming in actually on the over. Again, it's just because the Vikings are so bad. I'm telling you, the Vikings defense is just – it's atrocious. That's really why I wanted to play Henry last week. I was so excited just to get my bets on that game and then, you know, in DFS as well. But I like Hunter Henry if you can fit him. All right, let's finish up, Ben, with defense. I'll start since I always like the one thing I like to start with is defense. I'm going to literally play probably – oh, God, I can't play the Dolphins. As of now – maybe Washington. No, you can't do that this week. I mean, all right, Ben, who are you looking at defense? I've been paying down to 2,100 every week, and it's honestly been fine, even for my GPPs.
Yeah, I you know, obviously we like to pay down in defense as well. There's no one that like
2,500. I mean, that's probably it.
Yeah,
quick.
Yeah, 2,500. That's definitely cash playable. 100%. I wish like. I'm going to be way overweight to the Rams in tournaments. Like, you're not going to be able to get to 3,900 in cash. But, dude, watching the Giants every week, all Daniel Jones does is, like, take sacks or, like, fumble the ball. It's actually insane. I don't know. Like, he has to be up there for fumbles. Like, I haven't checked. But I feel like every time I'm watching them, he fumbles the ball.
That's actually a good call. Rams 3,900. No one's going to play
I'm not going to get to that in cash. But for tournaments, you easily just bump it up to, like, go overweight on them. And I mean, they could have.
I did have a great GPP with the Patriots, or who was it? The Colts, who had 2 pick sixes last week.
Yeah, the Colts had 2 pick sixes and a safety.
I do notice the trend. It's very common. Like, everybody's paying down, quote unquote, in defense, but people are doing that in tournaments too now. Like, in the past, people were actually smart enough to pay up, but now everybody just wants to play their favorite rosters. So there is merit to starting a roster with the defense first and then kind of building around it. And like, you know, you're not going to have as good of an offense on paper, but you know, that's how you can take down GPPs. There'll be weeks where you have a defense, you know, score 25 points and it'll be shocking, but you'll be winning a GPP. Anything else?
No, I mean, I think that like with a week like this, you know, we could see some value open up later on in the week. We don't know what's going on with these games. This is why it's so valuable to get a subscription at dfskarma.com, get in Discord, because we always have like me, Bales, or Sam in there. Like, as soon as injury news pops on, you know, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, like we're in there talking about the injuries like as soon as they happen.
By the way, I will finish on this. Of course, everything's at dfskarma.com, betkarma.com. I have a cash lineup right now, Ben. It's made, it's done. It was everybody that we talked about it on this pod, myself and you, kind of a combo look. I will say my current quarterback is Ryan Fitzpatrick. So what ended on that? I mean, you never know, right? 5,400, he's cheap. Maybe we'll see. Do I stick with this kind of roster going into the week? Like Ben said, talk to us in Discord. We'll update y'all. All right, guys, have fun this week. Good luck. And, of course, we'll talk to you next week. Peace.